The world felt like it shattered the day Sarah heard the words, "You have cancer." Sitting in the cold hospital room, the white walls seemed to close in on her. She wasn't thinking about herself. She was thinking about her two little kids. Emily, just 8 years old, and Jacob, barely 5. Sarah had always been the heartbeat of their home, the one who kissed scraped knees, read bedtime stories, and whispered prayers into their ears at night. Now, the thought of not being there for them tore her apart more than the disease itself. That night, when the kids were asleep, she sat by the dim lamp on the kitchen table, tears falling silently as she picked up her pen. "If I can't always be there with them," she thought, "I'll leave pieces of me behind." She opened a notebook and began writing her very first letter. Her hand trembled as she wrote, "My sweet Emily and Jacob, if you're reading this one day when Mommy isn't around, I want you to know something. My love for you is bigger than the sky, deeper than the ocean, and stronger than any sickness. No matter where I am, I will always be with you." She paused, holding the pen to her chest as the weight of reality pressed harder. But even in her pain, Sarah felt a quiet strength rise inside her. She wasn't just writing words, she was building a bridge between her heart and her children's future, a bridge of love, guidance, and comfort that would outlast her physical presence. In that moment, she made a silent promise. "Every day I have left, I will pour my soul into these letters, so my babies never feel alone." The diagnosis may have broken her body, but it awakened an unstoppable determination in her spirit. For Sarah, this was not just about fighting cancer. It was about leaving behind a legacy of love that her children would carry for the rest of their lives. Late into the night, Sarah sat by her bedroom window, the glow of the moon spilling softly onto her writing desk. The house was silent, except for the gentle breathing of her children down the hall. She reached for a fresh sheet of paper, knowing exactly who she wanted to write to first. Her little girl, Emily. She whispered her daughter's name as if saying it gave her strength. Emily was only 8, but she carried a tenderness in her heart far beyond her years. She was the one who often noticed when Sarah was tired, who would quietly lay her favorite stuffed bunny beside her mother's pillow, as if to say, "I'm here for you, Mommy." That memory alone made Sarah's chest ache with both pride and sorrow. She began to write, "My dearest Emily, you are my sunshine, my little helper, and the girl who taught me what unconditional love feels like. Someday, you will grow up into a beautiful young woman, and I want you to remember something very important. You are stronger than you believe. When life feels heavy, just think of Mommy hugging you tight and whispering, 'You've got this,' because you do, sweetheart." Her tears smudged the ink, but she kept writing. "When you face your first heartbreak, don't think love is gone. It's just making room for the love that will truly last. When you look in the mirror and doubt yourself, remember, you are enough just as you are. And Emily, never stop being kind, because your kindness is a gift that will change the world." Sarah placed the pen down for a moment and pressed the letter to her lips. She imagined Emily years later, unfolding this piece of paper, maybe on a day when she felt lost or unsure. She pictured her daughter's eyes filling with tears, but also with strength, realizing that her mother's love was still guiding her, even if she wasn't physically there. Carefully, she folded the letter and slipped it into an envelope marked with Emily's name and a small red heart she drew at the corner. Then she tucked it into the wooden box she had bought that very day, a box she hoped would one day hold dozens of letters, each one a treasure chest of love for her children. As Sarah blew out the candle on her desk, a small smile formed on her tired face. She had given Emily her first gift of forever, a letter that could hug her when she no longer could. The next morning, as sunlight spilled through the thin curtains, Sarah sat quietly at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. The house was still sleepy. Jacob's toy cars were scattered on the floor where he had left them the night before, his tiny shoes left askew by the door. Just looking at those little reminders of her boy made Sarah's heart swell. Jacob was only 5, so small, so innocent. How could she ever prepare him for a life without her? Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her notebook, opening to a fresh page. She took a deep breath and began writing. "My sweet Jacob, my little man with the brightest smile. You don't know it yet, but you are a light to everyone around you. You make me laugh even on my hardest days. Whether it's the way you line up your toy cars perfectly or the way you run to me with your arms wide open as if I'm your whole world. I want you to know, Jacob, that you will always be my hero." She paused, remembering how Jacob would crawl into her lap, his head against her chest, asking her to read him just one more story. She brushed a tear from her cheek and kept writing. "When you grow up, you will face days that don't feel fair. There will be times when people may tell you that you're not big enough, not strong enough, not ready. But Jacob, promise me you'll never forget. You are braver than you know. Bravery is not about fighting dragons. It's about standing up when you fall, helping someone when they're sad, and keeping your heart kind even when the world feels harsh. Her pen slowed as her thoughts grew heavier. Jacob wouldn't even remember some of her little quirks, the way she kissed the top of his head every night, or how she laughed when he mispronounced words. That broke her heart. So she added one final line, simple but powerful. Even if you can't remember the sound of my voice someday, remember this, Jacob. I love you deeper than the ocean and higher than the sky. That love is yours forever, and it will never, ever leave you. She folded the letter carefully, pressing her hand over Jacob's name written across the envelope. For a long time she sat there, her palm resting on the paper as if she could transfer her heartbeat into it. Finally, she slipped it into the wooden memory box right beside Emily's letter. 2 envelopes, 2 little pieces of her heart preserved for tomorrow. But deep down, Sarah knew she wasn't finished. Her oldest, Michael, needed a letter too. He was old enough to notice her illness, old enough to carry the weight of questions she wasn't sure how to answer, and tonight she would find the words for him. That night, when the house had gone still and the only sound was the ticking clock in the hallway, Sarah sat at her desk with a heavier heart than ever before. Writing to Emily and Jacob had been tender, sweet, letters full of hope and warmth. But Michael was different. At 12 years old, he wasn't a little boy anymore. He was old enough to notice the dark circles under her eyes, the way her voice grew weaker, the doctor visits that seemed endless. He was old enough to know that something wasn't right. Sarah opened her notebook, staring at the blank page, her pen resting motionless in her hand. She whispered to herself, how do I tell him what I need to without breaking him? Tears blurred her vision as she remembered the way Michael tried so hard to act strong. He'd help carry the groceries. Even when the bags were too heavy, he'd stay up late pretending to do homework, but she knew he was really listening to her soft coughs through the walls. He wanted to protect her, though he was still just a child. Finally, her hand began to move. My dear Michael, you are my firstborn, the one who first taught me what it means to be a mother. From the very moment I held you, I knew my life had changed forever. You have a heart that feels so deeply, sometimes even more than you'll admit. I know you've noticed that I'm not as strong as I once was. I know you have questions, fears, maybe even anger. And it's okay, my love. It's okay to feel all of it. You don't have to hide your tears from me. She stopped, her chest tightening, as she imagined Michael's serious brown eyes reading these words years from now. She thought about how he always tried to shield his younger siblings from worry, distracting Jacob with games, or helping Emily with her homework when Sarah was too tired. He was already stepping into a role far too heavy for his small shoulders. Her pen pressed harder into the page as she continued. Michael, I want you to promise me something. Promise me you won't feel like you have to carry the world on your shoulders. You are still a boy, and you deserve to laugh, to dream, to chase after your own future. Taking care of Emily and Jacob will be important, but never forget, you deserve to live fully too. Don't lose yourself while trying to protect everyone else. That's not what I want for you. Her hand trembled as she wrote the final lines. If you ever feel lost, close your eyes and remember this. I believe in you. More than anyone, I know you'll grow into a man of courage and kindness. And though I may not be there to see it, I'll be proud of you always. My love will walk beside you wherever life takes you. Sarah set the pen down, her breath shaky. She folded the letter slowly, as if sealing her soul into the paper, and slipped it into an envelope marked with his name. She placed it carefully in the memory box with the others. 3 letters now, 3 pieces of her heart, each meant to hold her children close when she no longer could. But as she closed the box, Sarah's gaze lingered on it. She knew these letters were important, but so were the moments left in the present. And with whatever time she had, she was determined to make more memories her children could hold on to, memories that no illness could ever erase. The morning sun poured gently through the curtains, casting a soft golden glow across the room. Sarah stirred awake, her body heavy with fatigue, but her heart steady with a new kind of resolve. Last night, after finishing Michael's letter, she had sat for a long time just staring at the box. It struck her. Letters were beautiful, but they were only words on paper. What her children needed, perhaps even more, were memories. Moments so vivid and warm they could close their eyes and feel her presence long after she was gone. At breakfast, Emily chattered about her drawings. Jacob made airplane noises with his spoon, and Michael, as always, tried to quiet everyone down so Sarah could eat in peace. Watching them, Sarah's lips curled into a smile. You know what? She said suddenly, her voice brighter than usual. The kids froze mid-bite, sensing something different in her tone. We're going to make today special. No doctors, no worries, just us. Emily's eyes sparkled. Like Like a family adventure? Exactly, Sarah nodded. A family adventure. That afternoon, she packed a picnic basket with whatever they had: peanut butter sandwiches, apple slices, and a small batch of cookies Emily had helped her bake the night before. They walked to the nearby park, the children skipping ahead while Sarah trailed behind slowly, her breath shallow, but her heart fuller than it had been in weeks. At the park, Sarah spread out a blanket under a big oak tree. Jacob raced off to climb the jungle gym, while Emily sat beside her, proudly handing her a crayon drawing she had made of their family, stick figures holding hands, all smiling. Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead. "Promise me you'll always keep drawing, sweetheart. Your art tells stories that words sometimes can't." Michael, meanwhile, sat quietly next to Sarah. He wasn't the type to run off. Instead, he helped her unpack the sandwiches. She gently nudged him. "Michael, go play. You don't have to take care of me right now." But he shook his head. "I just want to sit with you, Mom." Her heart ached and swelled at once. He was still a boy, yet already showing the soul of a man. When Jacob came back breathless, Sarah pulled him close and whispered, "You're so full of energy. Keep that spirit forever, okay? The world needs your joy." They ate together, laughed at Jacob's silly stories, and watched the clouds drift lazily across the sky. Sarah leaned back against the tree, imprinting every second into her memory. She knew her time was running shorter each day, but she was determined to leave her children with something stronger than her absence: love, woven into ordinary moments. As the sun dipped low and painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, Sarah felt something shift inside her. The letters were a gift for tomorrow, but these days, these small golden days, were the treasures her children would carry forever. She thought to herself, "This is what they'll remember. The way we laughed, the way we loved, not the sickness, not the struggle, but the joy we created together, even in the hardest times." And as she watched her children chase fireflies in the fading light, Sarah whispered a quiet prayer: "Let them remember me like this." That night, after the park adventure, the house was filled with a rare kind of peace. The children had gone to bed with smiles on their faces, still buzzing from the fun of chasing fireflies and eating cookies on the blanket under the oak tree. Sarah sat by her bedside, the lamp casting a warm but fragile glow, her body drained from the day but her heart alive with gratitude. She looked at the stack of envelopes she had already written, one for Michael, one for Emily, one for Jacob. Each carried words of love tailored to their unique souls. But as she held the pen again, she realized there was something missing. She needed to write them a letter that wasn't to one of them, but to all three together, because no matter what life would take away from them, they would always have each other. She began to write, her hand trembling slightly. "My sweet children, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer sitting with you at the breakfast table or tucking you in at night, but I am with you still, always, in every heartbeat and every laugh. The three of you are not just my children. You are each other's protectors, teachers, and friends. Promise me this: never let anything break the bond between you. The world can be loud, confusing, and sometimes cruel, but as long as you have each other, you will never be truly alone. Michael, guide your brother and sister with the kindness I see in you every day. Emily, keep sharing your colors and joy. They will remind your brothers of beauty even on hard days. Jacob, keep laughing loud, because your laughter is sunlight they'll need when the world feels heavy. My greatest wish is that you walk through life holding each other's hands, just like in Emily's drawings. If you can do that, then you will carry me with you always. With all my love, Mom." When Sarah finished, she held the letter to her chest, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. It wasn't just ink on paper, it was her heart sealed in an envelope, a promise she prayed they would never break. She placed the letter in the memory box, right on top of the others, and whispered softly, "Together, always together." As she blew out the lamp and lay back against her pillow, Sarah smiled faintly. Her body felt weaker than yesterday, but her spirit was steady. She knew that no matter what came next, her children would never walk through life alone, because she had given them the gift of each other. The next morning, Sarah woke up with an idea she had been pushing aside for weeks. Letters were beautiful, but paper could only go so far. Her children were still young. Sometimes words might feel too heavy, too distant. She wanted them to not only read her love, but to see it, hear it, and feel it. That's when she pulled out the small camera Michael had left on the shelf after a school project. Her hands trembled as she set it up on the nightstand, adjusting the angle until it captured her sitting in her favorite chair by the window. The sunlight streamed in gently, illuminating her pale but kind face. She took a deep breath, pressed record, and smiled through the ache in her chest. "Hi, my loves. she began, her voice soft but steady. "If you're watching this, it means Mommy couldn't stay as long as I wanted to. But don't be sad, because I'm still right here with you." She touched her heart and looked directly into the camera. She started with Michael. "Michael, you're going to be such a strong young man. I've already seen how you look out for your brother and sister, and it makes me so proud. Remember, strength doesn't mean hiding your tears. It means having the courage to love deeply, even when it hurts." Then she smiled, thinking of Emily. "Emily, my little artist, don't you ever stop drawing your rainbows. Life will try to make you think gray is all there is, but you know better. Keep painting the world with your colors, because they will heal people in ways you can't even imagine." Finally, she leaned closer, as if speaking to the littlest one tucked in her arms. "Jacob, my silly sweet boy, I can still hear your laugh every time I close my eyes. Please keep laughing for me. The world needs your joy. Promise, Mommy, you'll never stop being the sunshine for your brother and sister." Sarah paused, fighting back tears. She lifted her hand to the camera, as if caressing their faces through the lens. "And one last thing, all of you, love each other fiercely. Be each other's safe place. If you can do that, then I'll live on in every hug, every smile, every memory you share together." She stopped the recording with shaky fingers, then sat still for a long moment, her cheeks wet. It had taken everything out of her to record those words, but she felt lighter, like she had left behind not just a reminder, but a living piece of herself. Later that night, she placed the camera carefully in the memory box alongside the letters. For the first time in months, Sarah allowed herself to imagine her children opening that box years from now, pressing play, and hearing her voice fill the room once more. It was the kind of gift that would outlive her. Love captured not only in ink, but in breath, in sound, in the warmth of her eyes. One evening, when the house was unusually quiet and the children had fallen asleep early, Sarah found herself staring at the half-filled memory box on her dresser. Letters for each child, a message for all three, even a video they could play when they missed her voice. Yet something inside her whispered that there was still more to say. Something for a time when they were no longer little children, but grown adults, facing life without the innocence that softened the edges of the world. So with a fresh sheet of paper before her, she began to write the most difficult letter yet, not to children who needed comfort now, but to the men and women they would someday become. "My beautiful children, by the time you open this letter, you will no longer be the little faces I kissed goodnight every evening. You will be older, maybe with families of your own, dreams of your own, and battles I can't predict. But no matter how tall you grow, no matter how many years pass, remember this: you will always be my babies. The love I poured into you when you were small doesn't fade with time. It only grows stronger." She paused, her tears dripping onto the page, but she wiped them quickly, determined to keep going. "Michael, if you're reading this as a father, love your children the way I loved you. Be patient, be present, and never let them doubt that they matter. Emily, if you are chasing your dreams, don't let fear silence your voice. The world will try, but your courage will be greater. And Jacob, if you are building a life of your own, never lose that laughter. It will carry you through storms you don't yet see." Her hand shook as she wrote the next part. "And to all of you, don't forget each other. Call one another. Show up for birthdays, holidays, even the ordinary Tuesdays. Your greatest inheritance isn't money or things. It's the bond you share as siblings. Protect it with your whole hearts. If you do that, you'll never feel alone, even when the world feels heavy." When she signed the letter, "With love forever, Mom," she placed it gently inside the box, laying it at the bottom so it would be found last, after all the others. She wanted it to feel like one final embrace from the woman who had raised them, even after time had carried them far into their own lives. Closing the box, Sarah leaned back and whispered into the quiet room, "This is my forever gift." Her body was weak, but her spirit was steady. She wasn't just preparing her children for tomorrow. She was giving them a piece of her love that would stretch across their entire lives. The house had always been filled with warmth. Morning pancakes, the sound of cartoons, the rustle of backpacks rushing out the door. But slowly, almost quietly, things began to change. Sarah's energy no longer matched her children's boundless pace. At first, it was small things. Michael noticing she sat down more often while cooking. Emily realizing her mother's hugs felt lighter. Jacob wondering why she sometimes whispered instead of laughing loudly. One chilly afternoon, Emily came home from school and found her mother curled on the couch with a blanket, her face pale. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, dropping her bag. Sarah smiled, trying to make it sound casual. "Just a little tired, sweetheart. Nothing for you to worry about." But Emily, old enough now to sense what wasn't said, sat quietly beside her and held her hand. Michael, too, began to notice. He was only 12, but he had grown protective. One night, when he saw Sarah struggling to carry laundry upstairs, he took the basket from her. "Mom, let me," he said firmly. Sarah's heart swelled with pride and sorrow all at once. She wanted him to stay a child, carefree, but life was asking him to grow faster than she wished. Even little Jacob, who was only 7, could feel it. He would climb into bed with her more often, curling under her arm and whispering, "Mommy, don't leave me." Each time, Sarah would kiss the top of his head and reassure him, "I'm right here, sweetheart, always right here." But in the quiet of the night, when he drifted off, she let her tears fall silently, praying for more time. As her body weakened, Sarah poured her strength into her letters. Some were funny, filled with silly memories of burnt cookies or backyard water fights. Others were tender, guiding them through heartbreaks she knew they would face. Each word carried her voice, her presence, her unshakable love. One evening, while tucking the box of letters back into its hiding place, she paused. Her chest ached, not just from the illness, but from the truth she could no longer deny. Her time with them was running shorter than she'd hoped. She looked at the closed door to her children's room and whispered, "Please, God, just a little more time to love them in person." The air in the house felt heavier, yet somehow more sacred. The children didn't fully understand what was happening, but they began to hold her closer, laugh with her more, and sit by her side as if they too sensed the ticking of an invisible clock. Sarah knew the day was coming when her letters would need to speak louder than her voice. But until then, she was determined to keep writing, keep loving, and keep showing her children that even in weakness, a mother's strength can move mountains. The morning was gray, with rain tapping gently against the windows. The house felt unusually heavy, almost as though it too sensed the storm inside. Sarah had spent most of the night awake, her breathing shallow, her body exhausted from the endless fight. By dawn, the children found her resting quietly in her bed, her smile faint, but her hand still warm. They didn't understand at first. Michael shook her shoulder gently, whispering, "Mom, breakfast?" Emily leaned closer, her voice breaking. "Mom, please wake up." But Sarah's fight had finally ended. She was gone. The silence that followed was unbearable. Michael cried openly for the first time in years, clutching his siblings as if he could shield them from this unbearable truth. Emily screamed into her pillow, her tears soaking the fabric, while Jacob, too young to fully grasp what had happened, simply crawled into his mother's bed and held her arm, whispering, "Mommy, don't sleep so long." Later that evening, when their aunt arrived to comfort them, Michael wandered into his mother's closet. His hands trembled as he searched for something, anything, that still smelled like her. That's when he found it, a wooden box tucked neatly on the top shelf. Curious, he pulled it down and opened it. Inside lay dozens of envelopes, neatly stacked, each one marked with their names. The first letter on top was addressed to all 3 of them. With shaky fingers, Michael carried it to the living room where his siblings sat. They hesitated, unsure if they were ready, but eventually Emily opened it. The handwriting was familiar, curved, careful, filled with love. "My darlings, if you are reading this, it means I'm no longer beside you in the way I wish to be. But I need you to know something very important. I am still with you. I will always be with you. In your laughter, in your dreams, in the quiet moments when you miss me most, I'm right there. Please, don't let my absence be the reason you stop living. Instead, let it be the reason you live bravely. I love you more than words could ever say." "Mom," the words broke them open. Michael pressed the letter to his chest, sobbing harder than he ever had, while Emily whispered through tears, she knew this would happen. Little Jacob, his voice trembling, asked, "Does that mean she left us letters for later too?" Emily nodded, her tears mixing with a small, fragile smile. "Yes, Jacob, Mom didn't leave us alone. She left us pieces of her heart." That night, for the first time since Sarah's passing, the children slept side by side, holding each other tightly with the letter placed carefully between them. And though the pain was still raw, there was also comfort in knowing that their mother's voice had not been silenced. It would keep guiding them, one letter at a time. This story reminds us that a mother's love is not bound by time, distance, or even death. True love is eternal. It lives on in the values, lessons, and memories she leaves behind. Sarah showed that even in her weakest moments, her strength came from thinking of her children's future. She taught them that love is not just about being physically present, but about leaving behind hope, guidance, and courage. For us, it's a powerful reminder. Never take your parents' sacrifices for granted. Appreciate the small things they do, because often the greatest acts of love are hidden in the quiet moments, the unspoken sacrifices, and the words they leave for us to carry forward. What we learn: a parent's love is the purest, most selfless form of love. True love prepares you to be strong even in times of loss. Cherish your parents while they are alive and honor their memory when they're gone. The legacy of love continues to guide us, long after their presence is gone.